All right, let's jump right into this. Today, we're unpacking one of the most thrilling technological convergences of our modern era. I mean, think back to 2005 for a second. Where did you play your most advanced, graphically intense video games? For sure, it was in the living room, completely tethered to a bulky box sitting underneath your TV. Now, fast forward to today. The device is sitting in your pocket right now has evolved at such a blistering pace, packing a level of computational and graphical power that is, frankly, mind-blowing. Over the last 20 years, we've witnessed this intense arms race of power, pixels, and portability between dedicated home gaming consoles and the smartphones we carry with us every single day. So, in this explainer, we're going to trace this exact history. We'll look at the data, the massive technical leaps, and how the living room and the pocket have fundamentally collided.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The 2005 tech baseline. 2. Pocket computers emerge. 3. The GFLOPS arms race. 4. Display tech evolution. And finally 5. Consoles and phones converge.
Starting things off with Chapter 1, the 2005 tech baseline.
So, these are the absolute powerhouses of the 7th generation of home consoles. Microsoft really fired the first shot here in 2005 with the Xbox 360, which brought native high-definition resolutions to the masses, a massive leap at the time. Then, the very next year, Sony dropped the PlayStation 3. By integrating a 3D Blu-ray disc player right into the hardware, they basically helped secure physical media dominance for years. And then, well, there was Nintendo. Instead of chasing pure graphical fidelity like the other two, they released the Wii in 2006. They introduced movement sensors and motion controls that simulated actual real-world actions. These three machines really established the modern technological foundation for living room entertainment. But notice what they all have in common here. They required a totally separate screen, they had to be plugged into a wall, and they basically stayed in one place.
Which brings us to Part 2. Pocket computers emerge.
The speed of iteration on this timeline is just staggering. In 2007, Apple launched the original iPhone, fundamentally transforming the entire smartphone industry overnight. Just 1 year later, the iPhone 3G brought us the App Store, which spun up a completely new ecosystem for portable software and games. By 2010, Samsung threw its hat into the ring with the first Galaxy S, boasting this absolutely stunning Super AMOLED screen, bringing incredible visual fidelity to a device you could just hold in one hand. And then in 2013, the iPhone 5S introduced Touch ID biometric security. Every single year, the processing chips got smaller, faster, and just so much more capable.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the mini-narrative of how the smartphone's interface evolved, specifically this relentless journey away from physical buttons. You know, consoles rely heavily on physical controllers, but phones, they needed maximum screen space. We started with the classic home button, simple, iconic. But by 2017, Apple introduced the iPhone X, and Touch ID just had to go. They pushed that AMOLED display to a massive 5.85 inches, taking up almost the entire front panel, and entirely replaced the button with Face ID. Eventually, this design evolved into the dynamic island on the iPhone 14 Pro, which is essentially a hub that brilliantly uses software to adapt its shape and hide the physical camera cutouts.
But hey, hardware evolution isn't always a totally smooth ride, especially as phones started becoming more like these sealed, unupgradable computers. Take the Samsung Galaxy S and its dramatic on-again, off-again relationship with the micro SD card. From 2010 to 2014, expandable storage was totally standard, but in 2015, with the fancy new metal and glass Galaxy S6, Samsung just removed it. And man, customers complained loudly. The backlash was so fierce they actually backtracked and brought it back from 2016 to 2019. But finally, from the S20 onwards, it was banished forever. The silver lining? Phone storage capacities had evolved from a measly 8 GB back in 2010 to a massive 1 TB in recent Ultra models, perfectly mirroring the massive hard drives you'd find in home consoles.
All right, Section 3, the GFLOPS arms race.
So before we look at the actual numbers, let's quickly define our core metric. What exactly are flops? It stands for floating point operations per second. In gaming, floating point numbers are basically used to determine polygons and shapes. Simply put, the more flops a graphics processing unit or GPU can process, the faster it can render a 3D scene. 1,000 gigaflops or GFLOPS equals 1 teraflop. This gives us a brilliant, objective way to quantify comparative raw processing speed over the years.
So, the crucial point is this insane climb in the data here. We started with the Xbox 360 outputting 240 GFLOPS. Fast forward to the 8th generation, and the PlayStation 4 jumped up to 1,843.
Then came the mid-generation refreshes, with the Xbox One X hitting 6,000. And looking at the latest hardware available, the Xbox Series X is pushing 12,000 GFLOPS, and the brand new PlayStation 5 Pro reaches a staggering 16,700 GFLOPS with its Oberon Plus GPU. We are literally talking about machines designed to push absolute limits, delivering native 4K resolutions and up to 120 frames per second.
But here's where the industry paths completely diverged. While Sony and Microsoft were totally locked into this strategy of raw computational performance, wanting the living room to be the absolute pinnacle of high-fidelity graphics, Nintendo took a completely different path. They actively stepped out of the raw power arms race. Instead, they focused on versatile hardware, totally unique playstyles, and capturing a much broader demographic. And this divergence in corporate philosophy leads us perfectly into our next crucial topic.
Section 4. Display Tech Evolution.
13.5 million. That is the total number of Wii U consoles Nintendo sold before it was officially discontinued in 2017. It substantially undersold projections. But why? Well, the Wii U tried to bring a dedicated screen right to the controller, the gamepad. But honestly, it was clunky, its intended use cases were super confusing, and crucially, you were still tethered to a box in the living room. It basically proved that simply slapping a screen on a controller isn't enough. The form factor and the actual freedom of the display have to be absolutely perfect.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when a company learns from those exact mistakes. 158.92 million units shipped. That is the staggering, undeniable success of the Nintendo Switch family by 2025. Nintendo released a true hybrid device, a portable screen you could literally take anywhere or just dock to your TV. The market was so hungry for this. We had all become so incredibly accustomed to the beautiful screens on our smartphones that the idea of a fully portable, high-quality gaming screen was just irresistible. Because look at how our pocket displays evolved over this exact same time frame. While consoles back in 2005 were really just popularizing HD on living room televisions, smartphone screens were getting way better, way faster. Samsung's Super AMOLED in 2010 made colors just absolutely pop. Then the iPhone X in 2017 brought a massive 5.85-inch screen to a super compact form factor. By 2025, the Galaxy S25 Ultra features a giant 6.9-inch display. Our phones essentially became these immersive portable windows that completely rivaled the visual quality of our televisions, basically conditioning us to expect high-end entertainment wherever we went.
Which brings us to our final chapter, 5. Consoles and phones converge.
I mean, just look at the spec sheets we're dealing with today. It's wild. The iPhone 17 Pro Max features the A19 Pro chip, complete with internal cooling systems, and it shoots 8K ProRes RAW video. The Galaxy S25 Ultra packs a cutting-edge 3nm processor right inside a titanium frame. These aren't just phones anymore, they are incredibly powerful pocket computers. Meanwhile, the leading 10th-gen consoles are increasingly embracing multi-platform compatibility, cloud integration, and crossplay, which effectively breaks down the traditional walled gardens of that living room box.
Let's move to 2026 and see how this all builds to our current reality. The newly released Nintendo Switch 2 outputs 3072 GFLOPS when it's docked. To put that into perspective, that is vastly more powerful than the original PlayStation 4, and it's running inside a hybrid, portable device. At the exact same time, top-tier smartphones are packing immense AI and graphical computing power, complete with hardware-accelerated capabilities that were strictly console territory just a few years ago. The convergence is, for all intents and purposes, complete. Which leaves us with this final, massive question to chew on. If the smartphone sitting in your pocket, or a hybrid tablet device, now truly rivals the graphical output of the dedicated gaming boxes we used to keep under our TVs, what happens next? As cloud gaming and mobile hardware continue to advance at this blistering pace, will an 11th generation of traditional, plug-in-the-wall video game consoles even need to exist as separate boxes? It's a fascinating thought, and it completely reshapes how we think about the future of play. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a really clear picture of just how far we've come.